This is Gerald Javavas. I thought it was the best thing to do is not to avoid certain issues when we are talking about letters that are meaningful, that follow a certain order. I should not say so quickly like, yeah, but it takes a bit of time to tell you also why this happens. But in a way, I should give it the time to also explain how the mind chooses these directions, this structure, and I do that also via explaining an example with a word ba, which exists in Chinese, Japanese, Arabic Babayin scripts, and I'll take them out and I will compare them and also tell you, I take several words that are expressed with ba in Chinese, there are different ones, and I will compare them to a foundation that we use for it, that structure that we use for it. And I will show you how the same structure is used in any of these languages, although the foundations can be very different. Foundations in several scripts are based upon certain circumstances and a certain balance that we trust to use more often. That's why there's not just one word for one thing, but the structure is the same for everyone. The way how the balance is approached can be quite different, and that is something I need to discuss as well. But it should be clear that any word that we use in any language, it is also not really describing the object itself, the physical object itself, how it looks like. It's much more about that we use words as an attitude, and it shows us the directions, how we can find it, how we can understand it, and how we also should approach it so that we can handle it appropriately, in a proper way, so that we can also understand what it is about. And the word ba is a very good example for that. Often that language also, every language also, is also not about how these objects look like or what we do with it, but underneath is also this order that according to also where you live and where you are and what is general the approach, how to approach everything, it still is also about the request to approach it in a certain way. So it is, there's also always this communal usage that is generally accepted, that is taking part of the naming of the objects, and that will also become clear with ba. For instance, if we so there is, besides that, we also talking about, yes, we go to the object and we name it and we do something with it. The background, there's always this big system, this big structure, grammatically, and also with letters that are repeated mostly, and so on. It's that kind of backup system foundation that you can also find in every script that also will confirm all the things that are generally trusted. So when we focus upon that physical object, here in the West, in the Western languages, like in the English language, we start from the objective focus before us, from the object in the physical world, and we start from our foundation that we have certain freedom to deal with it. And in the background, we still say, okay, we experience something with it, well, we will deal with that general usage, and we try to find out if what we think about it is also acceptable for general usage. So we actually philosophize a little bit more, like, but I have a different opinion, you have a different opinion, and maybe again we come to a different balance as before. So lots more struggle in that way. There's also more movability of what you can do with things. It can go to corrupt ways as well, but at the same time you can also restore things more quickly as well. It's not that you have a background structure which will always tell you that you have to behave in a similar way always again and again. Now there is a bit more freedom in that, with advantages and disadvantages. The letter B in that system has also an order, so we were going to talk about the letter B. And in the order, where it is in this numerical order of complexity, you have it in my system in within the first of the three categories, and the B is in that second category, and at the third place, so you can translate it as going towards an aspect of growth in a physical environment. You can always almost pinpoint already what it is about by just reading it in the scheme. So it is a letter which notices all the materializations that are going on and are unfolding itself in the physical space, and that is presented by the B. And it is also, at that point, it is splitting up into two. It is a number 2 there as well. Towards something that is already developing, that is already changing, and it is following in the background a process that might also continue further from there, because it is certain that it's growing and is growing towards something. You don't know what it is yet, but that's the basics that you can read from the scheme already in the background. What I told you already, that the letters are not just about the physical features. These were physical features, so there's a growth going on, so you have this growth process, and you follow that and you go towards it, and you know it's there. But it's also an attitude. It is a kind of request. Go to that aspect, it says. Go to that. When it's an object, it's easy, and you have these forms, so that's easy, but it's not just only about objects. It can be about an engagement towards that position, and it emphasizes a certain destiny of this letter B association, of a focus that will be used in words and that shall be recognized as such. And that makes it interesting to have these words with B, that it's also not just physical, it's a focus that is requested, and I will explain that to you in a minute. In the Chinese script, of course, we don't have this focus towards the object itself and the freedom what we can do with it. It's not so much based upon sounds, it's based upon characters which also show a balanced out situation with this request what you need to do with it. So it is going immediately into the every letter is a time frame around it, and it is actually always describing what it requests from us to approach it in a correct way. The B is the same thing, and it means we are our focus, what we need, also what we need in our engagement is again this. It splits up into two, but it remains during a process. It remains almost like a walk. You go continue that. So in that way, the ba is expressing that as well. So you continue following that growth process, and it's already splitting up into more directions also, 2 directions here. And but it also means 8. This character actually means the 8. So why is this attitude needed for 8? And that is a bit weird at that point, that you could say, but what you're saying doesn't make sense, because that's not the attitude that we need to understand the number 8. And if you tell us that we need this attitude to understand it, just explain that. That's not the way how
most discussions are done. So like, I don't understand. Can you please explain? No, it's like, oh, I can't wait to throw your. Here, I will explain it. Why this attitude towards 8 is needed, and because it's needed to understand everything we can do with 8, which is related with the number 8 or actually the counting of 8 and how we count 8 and how we see that counting as quickly as possible. I already had in a previous video that I had this pattern also, the simplified pattern, which the B says it's breaking open and A says it's centering. So it's both, it's keeping the center and breaking it open. So that matches the sound. So that, until there, you're with me, it matches the sounds, and the letters, the character matches the sound combination. But it's more going on, of course. It's not just like, okay, you can recognize a sound combination. There's also the character speaks also with a background of associations, which I'm not going to go deeper into it now. But I will go deeper into that focus, because the structure also comes from something that is at the same time expressed with this. You need to break something open and keep your center together to come to 8. But before I explain it a bit better, I will also prove it once more that this focus is really expressing Ba as well, based upon the focuses themselves. I have the focuses in an order. The A is in the center. And so on. I have a whole order in it. When I design it, and I have this A in the center and this B breaking out of the center in one step up, 2 steps into 2 into the diagonal, you come to this form. And how do you read it actually logically in your mind as Ba and not as Ab? I will also say something about that, because that's the way how these focuses work. So the A is always, no, you go with your focus towards the center, and the B, oh no, you go towards the focus where it splits into 2 from a center position, because that's where it is in the system. It is described as you start from a center position, you start to see a difference into 2, into the diagonal from a center. So, and why this order? The first thing you see in this form is you immediately notice, oh, it's breaking apart and it's centered in that order. So that's why you read it as B, A, Ba. So that is indeed correct. And if you compare it again with that symbol, it's exactly describing that. So it keeps a center, but it's breaking into 2. If I would not design it so well, and I would have the A too big, and if I really would write it down so big that the B form is less focused, I start with my eyes upon the A, and then I go to the B, and then I have A, B, Ab. So the form is already becoming something else, and it will fit more to words with Ab instead of Ba. It's just a helpful side association that I make here to guide you and tell you that it's really expressing that combination of words, of letters into a separate word, meaningfulness. And that's that I already told you. It is, you can see it, that it is breaking open. Now, what has that to do with number 8 or with 8? If we look at the number 8, how we, the Romans script, which comes actually from a borrowed numerical system, which, if I'm not mistaken, was adapted via the Arab usage of letters, that also borrowed it from the Indian sources. The oldest cultures are a little bit neglected in that part because they always forgot, yeah, where did everything come from. It is presented there, the number 8. It's very practical to see. And what you see as a reflection in it, you see that, yeah, in fact, from one center, there are 4 lines coming out. It breaks up into 4 actually, but it's kept together into one center, and it's also present as 2 directions, so from up and down here in this case. And that kind of description already comes nearer to the essence from what the 8 is describing in all these things. And I will continue to prove you what I mean. 8, when we start to count it, it is a kind of pattern. If we have a lot of things on the table, if we want to see the order of 8, if it's random together, you can't do it. But if you have the order of 2 times 4 there, you immediately recognize it. Oh yes, I have it. I have 8 here on the table. I can recognize it instantly. That's the practical way to approach 8, and that's what it actually. That's why this is described also with these letters, or is it that accidentally or not? I'm not going to say anything about that. Where our mind is always unconsciously following what is most logical to use in that balance making. How do we make a balance with the self-organization of 8 marbles? 2 times 4. That's the thing how we can express it, and we can even express it with one hand. So there are 2 sides of it. So one side will have 4, and the other side will also have 4. Again, from one center, I seek for the balance which is the same seen from all angles. And that's that pattern which is also described in the Ba, which does not only means 8, but it also means things like it's in balance. It's so you see it from all sides and those things, and that also proves my point that our focus is towards Ba is about much more than it's just about a number. No, it's about an attitude that you go towards it. There are some other words that are expressed with Ba. I have one of them underneath. Again, structure is the same. You have the splitting and one center there. But here the center is taken out, and there comes out another character. There are 2 characters actually. The mouth, cow, and Ba as the sound. And this sound is often used in words at the end of a word just to make sentence a bit more round, a bit more not so hard to express, and it stimulates actually the full context for where something is, and you can do from now on. You can do something with it a little bit like that. It's contextually used in that way. And you have this mouth and then Ba. And Ba, then, as a character, could also be analyzed. And every character has that context, because also the cow is that mouth, but it's also like, okay, we use it apart as a contextual association only. So I start from here with the contextual association only, and now with the sound Ba. It's almost, you can almost see it there. The contextual frame of every character is the year cycle with the 4 seasons, and you can go select whatever you need to do so that you can go from one stage to the next up until you can can use it repeatedly in a way. And that's also what this character actually already is doing.
continue something. You know you can go further from here, and you can you can continue to do. You can continue from here. So this prepared time is very much visible here. I will explain the same character much better in the end of the video. But what you can see here is also here something has been repeated from one stage to the next within the same engagement of Of course, this engagement is in the sentence, and this now you can continue and do something with it with a certain destiny is something that should be clear from now. The B pushes you to the next, breaking apart into more usages. You can become bigger, things can become bigger. You can even in that way actually, and it's actually also always the case that that letters are directions of let's follow these directions, let's follow the direction that what we can do with it or how we should approach it, so that we can do something with it how it has been requested. And the characters and the sounds are actually these patterns that directs your mind like a balance into that direction. How is that even possible, you could say? And this should be still investigated, but I'm sure that you could follow the certain structure in our brain as well, with horizontal, vertical, diagonals, as I have it here. This structure which I show you here is basically the foundation of this balance. So you can have the balance in all kinds of directions. In space, you don't need this balance very much. It's more the balance of balancing things when they are going out of balance. Only when they're going out of balance, you have to put them back in. And where are they going out of balance is this recognition system. If the things are going out of balance by the horizontal line, it's actually on the same flat plane, and you continue something that still works for me. I will still continue to follow it up. We continue what we do. If we use the verticals, I have them in my vowels and consonants as well. If we use the verticals, it's always about, okay, I have a different moment here somewhere, and I see that there is a difference. There's a change there. The changes are expressed with time. The diagonals is more like, okay, there's suddenly something appears and disappears again into the diagonal. And there, once you sense them, once you see these kind of changes, you will adapt to circumstances. These are the three levels that are triggered. And like I told you already, there are 9 positions in each of these trigger points. And once you see what is different, you adapt. And that goes very automatically, but it goes so automatically that you nearly have no time to think about it. They are followed automatically, and we follow the leads, and these leads exist in the letters. And this structure is like that balancing out of yin and yang as well, where we act upon it and we get a reaction upon it, and even the letters tells you when you can act and continue, when you have to follow it a little bit better, or you have to really make a sub change because you feel a feedback process. These 3 categories will be felt there as well. The whole thing, how the forms exist, if you would really see them, how they exist, how they come to form in geometrical patterns, how they unfold and appear and disappear again. It's very much like what was described before by Ouspensky when he talked about the fourth dimension. And I think it's not such a bad idea to call it that way, even though in that way you don't know why this term is chosen and so on. But I will tell you why it's a good idea to call it that way. When we have this three-dimensional space, which you see here at the right, everything that we have in there is our three-dimensional space with the things that we think are steady. It's our steady vision where nothing is needed. But once we see any kind of movement in any kind of direction, we are triggered. We're triggered in this changing, in these changes, in this one of these three things that go out of balance. We slightly go out of balance with what our attention, and we say, oh, where is it moved to? We need to adapt our mind to it. We need to adapt also geometrically, and all these adaptations, the combinations, how they are described, are all the directions that are described and that are actually requested to move towards, and it also explains you in which direction, so that you can find it. You can find the word and you can find what you need in the word. These axes that you have there, like in the three dimension, they are stable axes, all coming from one point. I should show this to some person who is much more busy with mathematics, but here it is about these unstable points which are triggered as that we can follow and fill it in. That's why it goes so automatically. They are unstable axes. So instead of that the axis remains stable all the time, there are points where it's unstable, horizontal, vertical or diagonal. And within these frames, once you see these matches, there are points, connection points, and these connection points describe the words, and that's how we need to adapt to what is described in the words. And I'll give you a few examples to understand the concept. For instance, this very simple image. So what do we really need to adapt in our mind to focus upon this new object? Actually not much. So you see it's moved, but it's a similar form, and it moved a bit up on our paper, on our screen, but actually it's still within the same space. So there's not much changed here. So we still follow the horizontal plane, in which I can add a vertical on the horizontal plane without that there is change. You don't know that always, because once you use the vertical, it can mean that something changed because it's changed because maybe this second position is in a different time frame. Maybe it's a bit later, or it's just within the same space, and then it's just, no, I need my focus horizontal, it's vertical, and it remains in space. So the only thing we need here is a horizontal axis. And even if we use time, it still says, okay, it's from now to now. I have two nows, and every time I look again now, I can still see it within the same space. That's how you have to think about it. So there are three axes. Once the horizontal is based upon everything that works for you, and you continue it, they are the physical constants. If you have the vertical, you can recognize actually with the vertical axis that changed. You can notice the different moments. In a way, you can think, okay, but on a horizontal plane and then with a linear time frame, you can also follow the time. Yeah, but you follow them time after time, and you're always in the now thing, and you're not really following the things up in time, and you don't know when things will be changed in time. You can only follow it one moment at a time. While focusing upon time itself, you focus, for instance, about the moments, and these are expressed vertically. This decides the moment. These are the conditions from the moment. Each different moment decides things that are framed into the time frame, into the moved time frame towards it. You can see what's happening. In the contemporary conditions, that's the last one, the vertical one, you see what has been needed to adapt, because some things appear suddenly and they disappear. And when you see them in time and you know where it's going to, then you immediately know, okay, I know at some point it will go there, it will be there, or there will be the highlight. That's the kind of context that you need with letters also describe these things in that via that third axis. And here are all the letters, they're all there. So what do we need to remember today? Not much, but we start from the horizontal plane, and the associations are associated with the vowel A, our starting point, where we push also our own thoughts forward, because we start always from what we know, what we can use. The A is about these changes, and here again we have this balance. So we have the physical plane, then everything which is changing, and then things that will make the context more correct, where things will lead to, when it will have an effect, what kind of effect it will have, are very good expressed in the last two letters of that system, which is. The is or Isis in the old ancient Egyptian sense, in that way can be derived to that position, that last position, which decides what will happen in life and what will have its life insurance and what does not. The A then I will go a bit deeper in it. So when we simply keep the horizontal foundation, and we think that linear time is the only way how to look at things, every time we see thinking, we check it now. That's already something what I said. But the A experience from there will also say that we will see where it will lead to. We have no idea where it will lead to. We start from what we know, and we'll see via experience if we ever need to adapt, or something else happens, or that kind of things. But we continue until there. We continue the same way over and over again. The yin and yang balances can also be compared to the vowel foundations, as you see here. The A is our first foundation. That's where the material comes around, down there. The U in what it has been developing or not developing, in that black part, in this way I'll call it the lacking part. This is a foundation for everybody. A is a time frame where we engage ourselves into something, and E, we have an idea at that point that how it hangs together. With O, we see also the effects, what it will bring together. So we first start from these immediate results in A. Also the A languages which use the letter A a lot will use that foundation. The physical world is handy, and the objective world is handy. And if you even go deeper into leaving that experience, it will still remain you still have the idea that it will remain handy. And it all depends on the time periods. So how is the balance also in the nature, in the sun and in the shadows, in the four seasons? How is this time period experienced? How quickly do we need to adapt? How quickly is the light changing? How quickly are the seasons changing? Really also has an influence on the languages, which I started to investigate in one of the books, Changeling of Seasons, where I explained that I also noticed that indeed the English, which is used practically, has a certain range in the world where it works quite well. The Arabic has also a certain range there where it is used and is thought to be practical. Any other languages, but I just had these schemes used and investigated, and it tells you also that also this has an influence, and it all has to do with that time period. How quickly do you need to adapt? If the You know, of course, that when you live in the north, the light is dim, and you have all the time of the world. On the North Pole, it's 6 months. It's light, and 6 months is rather dark. But it's always somewhat light or somewhat dark. Everything is, it's mixed. So that makes it different, of course. So, but the adaptations again. So there's much more to do than the immediate results. You cannot always go to the immediate results. Sometimes you have to go to the reality that lifts it up to look at the next level. The next level is about what has changed the reality, so that you go vertical. Or what do I need to do? Which angle do I need to have to keep the reality intact? The A foundation, I know that it's, for instance, used a lot in the Hindi language, who have a very long period to watch what's going on, so they have time to adapt also. So when they have ideas that are not practical, they can also work it out with quite some time. That's no problem. The A with O foundation, which the O is, I think it's of the A, the mixtures of the letter A with for instance, with O, you can notice in various areas in the West, and it says a lot about we are dealing what is evolving at that point, and we deal with how it is evolving, and we learn, of course, from those things. You can make association with. I'm not going too deep in it. It will be a very long video already. But when the transition period is shorter, you cannot count on your opinions of what is A, or on your experience what is A, what is the foundation to start with. You cannot count on that very well. And you have to go much more to the immediate results. And if they're not satisfactory, you have this triple balance again. If A is not satisfactory, you come at the end, when you can't keep your center focus together, and you land into a sound which is more like K. In A, you're going to experience, you take the time to experience. In T, the second letter, you see it until where it reaches. You can really define things, and at K, it already becomes unclear. That's the third letter, the diagonal. It already says, okay, I'm no longer focused in the middle so much anymore that I can really understand where things are going, and if it's still going on, I don't know actually. So I have to decide something else. My decisions are no longer in, I have my idea about it. It doesn't happen. And that says something about the foundation in languages. And which language is related with that, I will come to that in a minute. But here it is again, so you have this focus where you have, for instance, I will put it again, I will see this focus again. You have the center focus until you no longer have the center focus, or in the light as well. Yes, you see everything very long into the daylight. You have the time during the day to see what you have. When things are changing, you have the from time. You don't have much time anymore, so you try to define things. When it's getting dark, and getting dark more quickly, you have to decide also more quickly. So when there's really more times, like here, you can use the A very much. The A is also at a certain region on the world where you can use it also. The T can be used at the points where there are transitions, and you can use that and say, okay, I can see something changing, so I can make definitions, and I'm also very good in definitions.
When it's very short, you will also see, if you put the yin and yang of the light actually on how the light really evolves during the whole year. I have here a resume actually from what it is, but you don't really have much time to have yin and yang and then yin and yang, to have too many focuses. It's very black and white. If you go around the middle of the earth, the equation, I think it's called, yeah, you don't really have much time to react. It's daylight, very much daylight, or yeah, you have 5 minutes and it's completely dark. Things, the circumstances are different there, so you have to react more quickly. It's be careful, because in 5 minutes it's dark. It's completely different, the opposite of the interaction time that almost needs more context on the North Pole. In the south region, you really don't have much time to react, and there you will use these doubts sounds. Of course, these doubt sounds will stimulate your mind into the right direction that you need to decide quickly. So, and that's also why, and certain regions have these Semitic languages also have these clicks. That's not click sounds, yes, of the down south, but it's at least one foundation of throat sound that actually replaces the A with the Aleph, or with that doubtful moment, like the K. It's that doubtful moment which replaces the A, and the doubtful moment replaces something of an idea of the past. Actually, it replaces an idea from, okay, we have a past context from somewhere. We had an experience that we before that we already realized, yeah, but we had some experience from the past, and we had this kind of situation before, and that's what we did. Please accept the idea. You don't have much time. That's what it is, and that's the foundation that you can also find in the Sufi reasonings from Ibn Arabi that I'm going to talk about a bit later, who also says that the Arabic system actually is not in a system that really is into a prosperous world. No, it's in a world where you need quick decisions. It's a hot world. You have to make quick decisions, and you don't have the time. This is in between hell and heaven, in between hell and earth. That's where they are. The preparatory conditions are there. That if you're not careful, you go immediately to a hell-like situation. That's the kind of idea. You have to go quickly. And we have some people from the past who had some wisdom and some experience, and we noted them down. Go and read them, and learn them first, and then maybe after a while, after the whole process, at some point you can use the A or your own opinion. Not now, you don't have the time for it. Take the time for the past first. That's the idea beyond that script, and that's how Ibn Arabi also described it. So you see here these regions where you have certain letters emphasize the I, or the O, the A, the T, the K, and the A, and the K. I can't pronounce them at the end. So the shorter the experience, the more click-like sounds there are. If you have the time, you can use the A, and at some certain points you can also use, if you don't really see differences. Okay, we need, of course, the ideas, the correcting ideas in I more. If there's a compensation involved, these A or I will be replaced by letters like alpha. And that's why the balance in certain languages is different. So in a way, the Arabic system says, okay, the conditions are not so very good, but we have some ideas from the past so that we can tell you what you need to do. The Japanese, for instance, here have
a different foundation in this word system of their language and script, and it actually is describing conditions that are fruitful, are good. This is a good world, not a world of purgatory. This is a good world, but let's keep it that way. So there's an order and structure in it. Respect the structure. The E is also an idea, but that's really a ripened idea in the background. And every time when you go in A, in every situation, go towards it and make a foundation so that you can continue to do whatever was there also from the past, can also be still here in the present and in the future. When circumstances give you the time, you also have the time to experience, and you go to all these levels and you can keep the order of levels and balance the things further on very easily, very contradictory to the other system that we discussed before. Here, once you receive a go, because you have the time, the things are still unfolding in nature and so on, you can give it a go in A. A is a foundation of what we work with. You can also define yourself, whatever you see there, that's the T, and what you don't see. If you define that well, what not, and you can still define it well, you can still continue with your approach, with your thinking process, you can continue, you can go even to the next level, and then follow only the things that you know with you, and even thanks to that, you can have everything that comes towards you, you can follow that as well. And you keep that balance, and you even see where things are going and to what end these developments are expressing themselves, only because you keep your balance into what you know. That's the learning process in all these letters. And the B is very important today as well. It's that continuation process pushed from your vision, how you have them. If you can keep them running so far already, you can really do something with it. And that is the expression underneath that as well. It's going into a direction that has a certain progress in it. Continue to do so. You can. It's a good foundation. Do so. And that's what basically it is. It is, you have an idea where we start from, and at this point we are able to continue to use it, and that's what we do with Ba. Let's go to another script and another time when we meet the Ba as a meaningful letters combination or as a meaningful word. In the Babayin script, it's a good opportunity to show it to you. Here I have 4 letters of them. The A is our starting point, if I remember them, but in each script there's a different foundation sometimes, like in Babayin script, these are people in the Polynesian region. There's a lot of water there, and the old things that they use is navigate on the water, use the navigation of the stars or use the navigation of the boats. These are the 2 options, very, very different, like when you're on land and you want to have your 4 seasons correct by using the land. This is a different thinking process. The balances of how they see the world is different as well. But their letter A looks different as well. It's based upon the same sign in the heavens as the other ones, but it's not a plow, for instance. It's not associated with the plow, but with the waves of the boat. It's the boat that directs you towards something. That's their starting point. That's the letter A. The Ka, for instance, most of the languages, they see it as a dangerous territory, because you have to adapt to things that you do not know. It's a dangerous territory that very often can go wrong, especially when you have a world of individual opinions. This is a dangerous territory. These boats, actually, this one looks like a boat also. These boats from the Polynesian islands, and what do they do with Ka? They balance these things out thanks to cooperation with others, thanks to that every person from left to right, yeah, moves. It moves where it's needed to move towards to. So in that way, it is positive. This is one of the examples, and it has the same meaning. It's ka is move direction, adapt to the changes. That's what it both does, thanks to this cooperation. It's a very much more positive sense, and that is of course going into the direction of the streams. Ba, however, is difficult to see what it means and what the expression is and where it is a reference to. On the other hand, it fits still into my pattern. So it's that direction. It's that direction where you need to go to in global adaptation. So it fits well, but I don't see what kind of reference it is. It doesn't matter. It fits, and you see the underlying structure of how you balance the things out in that particular script and in balance in their conditions. So you can sense it, and that's the best thing you can do in a script. Once you find that a particular aspect, you know how you have to balance things out. And you follow also the underlying structure and not just the words or sounds alone or script alone. The Arab script is that weird foundation that actually says, no, your starting point, your individual starting point does not count. You have nothing to say. You have to listen to our past. That starting point is not correct, or not until you learned enough to go back to that starting point, and then maybe you can add something to the past. That's that Semitic thinking does that as well. It only builds up further onto what already has been built up, and that's the only way they see it, because you have to go quick. That's what I say. So they have the eliminated, and they replace it with that higher level of consciousness, what it should be, meaning it's that compensating point of realization. It's not. It looks a little bit like the E, but it is actually coming from deeper, not from higher, from deeper from the past, deeper from within. It could be lower as well if you not pay attention. It could simply be a sense of being critical very easily on what you do not understand, because you have to go quick. You're also very quick in reacting to what you sense. It can be a disadvantage, but it has, in the Sufi region, a higher structure, and that's why they use also certain scripts to guide you, and this Ibn Arabi build it with them to guide you into that process. Only then, after a while, the second letter of that alphabet, after Aleph, or that higher principle of criticism that says, okay, be careful, act in the correct way, instead of you being critical. No, the criticisms has already been written down. You should not be critical. You are not the person, and the personal opinions should be second. And Sufism understood that principle within this range of balance very well, until they have this B sound, which is the same thing as in all the languages. It is telling you from there on you can have your directions towards progress. It will lead to the fruits of the tree of what you put in it. And you need also to be aware of where you start your choices. Are there personal choices that you say, I don't like that, I don't want that? No. If that's the starting point, that's not a spiritual or good guiding point. It is that higher principle. Try to understand the experiences from before. Don't give an opinion. And there's this Ibn Arabi wrote a lot of things and books also. He even has one book about just one letter, one sign, or another book scripture which hasn't been saved in its completeness, but it's there. Ba has so it has a book on its own from Ibn Arabi, which you can see here in Arabic language, which I can't read, but it's there, it exists. And if you read what ba means, it's used for in, with, by, at. It also causation, instrument, accompaniment, in addition to its prepositional function, and it's the second letter of the alphabet. It's actually disengagement. When it's there, you see where it leads to where that leads to is actually again the same kind of thing, of attitude. It's also the second letter in the Roman alphabet, by the way, the B. And their function of going back in time eliminates the personal expression, so they don't push them. You should not push yourself without before understanding the essence. The essence is that alpha. The alpha lies in a higher order in between the negative and the positive, so trying to distinct between negative and positive as well. And this yin and yang system is a little bit like I expressed it on top there. It goes also to the, in a way, also to the, to make more distinction, it goes to what has been negative and positive in the past and tries to distinct those before you engage yourself into now. It's not ready for that, but let that push you into your thinking process, or into the before thinking process via alpha instead of via A. Then we also have the Japanese Ba. I'm busy for a very long time. Japanese Ba means very quickly resumed if or when. It indicates a certain action or state that leads to another action of states. I see here described here. It's also used in hypothetical situation when emphasizing the condition needed for a result. So again, it goes from one state to another, fits to that Chinese character as well. That Japanese character is different, not the one used for foreign associations. It's exactly the same as the Chinese one, with the b expression on top there. And the letter used, or the character used in the Japanese script, you can see again almost like the I, which describes the conditions. Now we go to the conditions, we describe them again, so we go to the conditions. This is the first foundation for A leading to A. It's described where the A comes in, so that we can go from one state to another. Again, the same meaningfulness is behind it. My structure is that structure there on the beneath the left, described a lot in this video, described with many words in this video. Well, it should be enough. I mean, it's almost an hour. I hope you enjoy this one. If you really would like to understand the letter B better, this was the video that was made especially for that. And it gave you also some background of how things are balanced out in general in our mind, but also how they are somewhat differently balanced out when you live somewhere else and use a different language. And that's why not all words are the same in every language, but the letters of significations are actually pretty much the same. Okay, that's enough for today. Thanks again for watching. Bye.